let's get started. Better buy Tacoma or Ford Ranger. So we are talking about the 2024 Toyota Tacoma or the all-new 2024 Ford Ranger. Now I'll try to get a different slide here because, well, at least here it's good. You're hiding the ugly there. Oh, there we go. You got to get rid of this slide. So let's get to some better looking stuff right here. Let's go over to the websites that we have here. So build and price. 23 is going to give us an idea of price. So we will be talking price now. Look at these Toyotas. These brand new Toyota Tacomas. Tacos, as many people call them. There's a lot that has changed.
Everybody loves tacos.
Everyone loves tacos. Thankfully, there's a lot that's changed on these models. The outgoing model was pretty old and archaic. It felt very analog, not digital. So you had a lot of very old buttons. You had some things on the interior that dated back to the mid-1990s. And I would not buy a previous model Tacoma. Because you know what? The Ford Ranger is unbelievably reliable. It wins awards in its category for reliability. So it's actually got awards given to it for 3-year reliability as well as estimated long-term reliability. So it's a very reliable model. So don't be fooled. A lot of people will think that the Ranger isn't reliable because, you know, they're thinking back to maybe Ford in the 1990s. Ford's changed since the 1990s, and I know that's hard to believe if you're currently driving a Toyota Tacoma, because whether it's a 1998 or a 2018 or even a 2023, there's going to be some buttons in there from the mid-1990s. But I am loving the new Tacoma. Love the new Tacoma. And Marie, what do you think? Let's start on styling.
Yeah, my first impression, I like that they took almost the same look as the Tundra, because we saw one when we were in Florida, and it was big. The front was looking good, and I see they tried to stay in the same kind of look. So they fit in the Toyota line together. They are the little brother and big brother.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
They've got a good family look going on.
Yeah.
And not the wrong type of family. That's not a inbreeding look because they do look good. But I have to say, as much as I find they look good, it has more Lexus styling to it. I'd say the Toyota Tacoma has a bit of kung fu fighting style behind it. But the question is it
the little lines underneath the light?
the little line?
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. So it's got a little kung fu fighting style. But the question is it fast as lightning?
But that's good because they didn't try to steal the look of another brand. They have their proper look. So I love that.
Yeah.
For that, yeah.
Yeah, we like originality, and this has an original Toyota Lexus look, but it's definitely, I feel, Lexus influenced. Because if you go back Toyota 10, 15 years ago, everything looked very boring and very much the same, even if you went over to Lexus. And then Lexus started to kung fu fight with the style, and some people loved it, and some people were a little disappointed. Now, I'm happy because it's offering, you know, it's spicing things up. But the Toyota Tacoma definitely has some of that Lexus styling, and it even has a Lexus motor. So I asked the question, I made the point, it's kung fu fighting style, but is it as fast as lightning? Well, let's check out these numbers, folks. These numbers, debatable numbers. I'm impressed for Toyota. Huge increase, huge improvements, but only 4-cylinder engines. So if you go all the way up to the Trail Hunter or the TRD Off-Road, of course, as well as the Limited, so the high up trims, you're going to be getting the iForce Max motor. It's a hybrid. It's that original 2.4 liter Force inline 4-cylinder with turbo from Lexus. Pretty potent, very reliable powertrain. They've gotten rid of the 6, which had a little bit of reliability issues. The 6-cylinder, of course. They also got rid of their 6-speed transmission, which also had, I wouldn't call them reliability issues because the transmission wasn't straight out braking, but it was clunky. Had some hesitation, a little confused in regards to what gear to be in. So it wasn't the best transmission. There were a lot of complaints for that transmission. So you're looking at 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. Now, Marie, you have a hybrid truck. So tell us about what truck you've got. Well,
Yeah, I love it so much because you have all the stuff, the positive stuff that you have with a truck. So you can bring things in the bed. And with the hybrid, it's just fun because you don't put that much fuel in it. Because sometimes when you have a truck, you need to compromise and put more fuel in it. So
or drive
that's the best
less.
of both worlds.
I'm cheap, so I just drive less places. I'll be asked to go somewhere.
You take another car because this one is too expensive. He wants to eat a lot.
And if I only had a truck, well, I'd be motivated to stay in every weekend and not go out. You know, we found ourselves going out. I think we went out 3 or 4 times today. And I didn't mind. And I even said, wow, this feels great. I'm leaving the house and it doesn't hurt my soul because I'm taking the Lightning and it's free. So it feels good. So you like the hybrid experience.
Yeah. Probably I won't be able to go back to the 100% fuel.
And this is why I'm thinking
so much.
you're probably more, I'm thinking you're maybe a little bit more team Toyota Tacoma.
You know what? I don't know. I love that orange color though.
Don't pick it because of the color. That's not fair now. You're going to disappoint some people
but
here.
You said it's a little bit Lexus, Kung Fu fighting and stuff like that. But at the same time, I guess people that loves Toyota, the brand, they will appreciate that it has a Lexus touch because for them, they can buy a Toyota with a little touch of Lux. So I guess that's a positive thing for them.
That is well said. And
it's hybrid.
I used to be the biggest Toyota fan. I was a big old Toyota boy growing up, you know, from the age of about 16 to about the age of 25, 26. I had enough repairs because I fell for the myth that a Toyota never breaks, and I put thousands of dollars into a whole bunch of Toyotas. I blew a motor on a Celica, just to give an example, twice.
Is it the Celica the problem or the driver?
I lost my 5th gear on a Camry manual engine because I took a Camry V6 and had that in a Toyota MR2, and I lost the 5th gear in the transmission, and the synchros on the 3rd gear were starting to go. I've had issues. I've had to do a lot of alternators, my Celica, 2 of my MR2s, but that aside, I used to be a big, huge Toyota fan, and I stopped because in the 2000s, while they were very reliable, generally speaking, they were pretty boring when it comes to styling. And it's part of the reason why I wouldn't go with the previous model Tacoma. You're liking the style. You also like the hybrid. So this could be a good mid-sized truck for you. However, some complaints have been, even with the new model, rear seat spacing is going to be just a little bit limited, but it is made for tall people. Tall people fit really well in this Tacoma. You know, you're tall for a woman, but neither of us are above 6 feet. So even if I sit up here and give a wrong impression, none of us are above 6 feet. So height-wise, plenty of space. Well, I think what's interesting with the Tacoma that we've got here is the box sizing. You can actually have, and you can see it right here, we've got it in writing. The SR5, for example, is available in double cab with a 5-foot or 6-foot bed. So you can actually have the big cab and a 6-foot bed. And I think that is pretty huge. However, unlike you, I'm less Tacoma for the new one because it does not come with a 6-cylinder. And I don't like the old Tacoma's 6-cylinder. Those, you know, reliability complaints don't stress me out very much. What really bothers me is that it's a slow 6-cylinder with not enough power, but nonetheless a lot of fuel consumption. So I'm loving the potential fuel consumption on this.
Is it better now? Do you know?
That's a great question. Official numbers, I haven't come across any official numbers yet. However,
we'll see.
Let's look at the Tundra. If you look at the Tundra hybrid, a lot of people complain saying there's not much of a difference, whether it's hybrid or not. And the non-hybrid isn't that impressive. It's better than the V8 they had, but it's still not that impressive. If you look over to the F-150 hybrid, the power boost, the big benefit is you get 500 pound-feet of torque. A lot of power on the hybrid unit from Toyota as well. However, on the highway, next to no difference from either brand. In town, at Ford, you can save 30 to 40%, but you have to be very docile and gentle with that gas pedal. You gotta really pamper it or baby it, whatever term you want to use.
Drive it like a Prius.
You don't drive it like it's hot, and you don't drive it like it's stolen. You drive it like, you say Prius?
Yeah.
That's awfully cute. I say Prius.
Prius, I don't know in English.
No.
In
You
French,
start-
it's Prius.
You continue with Prius. It's wonderful.
I don't know.
We're an accepting community here. Lots of love going around. No one's
please
judging.
correct me.
No way. So I'm worried that the Tacoma hybrid won't be that fuel efficient. I'm convinced, 100% convinced on the highway, next to no difference. And in town, I'd say if it's like the Tundra, maybe we'll be saving 15 to 25%. Who knows? Maybe I'll get surprised and it does actually save 30 to 40% fuel in town, but I will be very, very surprised. Now, I see in the comment section people talking about wait times, and I know there have been a lot of complaints about wait times over at Ford. However, we just had earlier, took a little break from all the pool work and gardening, and our neighbor was talking about his wait times that he reviewed, as well as other people that are employed. He supervises them. He's a boss, he's got employees, and he said that various of his employees were complaining about, what was it?
A Corolla.
Yeah, long wait time in a Corolla. A Camry, 1 year.
1 year and a half.
1 year and a half on a Camry.
That's a lot.
And it's a Camry, folks. We're not, I didn't say Porsche or Lamborghini or Corvette. I said Camry.
And it wasn't a new model like the Maverick hybrid that we need to wait a lot because they cannot produce enough for everybody.
New models always bring more excitement, more demand.
Yeah, we saw it.
And, that's something where I'd say don't be fooled. I've got, in the comment section, people saying, you know what, Maverick, too long of a wait. I'm going to get a Ram 1500 because the interest rate is really low compared to the interest rate on a Maverick. First of all, if you're looking at interest rates on the Maverick now, you got to realize that when it comes in a year, well, maybe 6 months if it's an EcoBoost, but you've got a good chance you're playing more around a year. If it's an EcoBoost, probably a little bit before. If it's a hybrid, probably a little bit more than a year. But you're going to get to choose the interest rates of when it comes in. So if you truly believe that we're going to be in a different economic position in a year and a half from now, you're going to get those interest rates. So very important to consider. But for the Tacoma, to bring it back to the Tacoma, there are wait times at Toyota. So if you like this new Tacoma, be there day one, ordering one up. Now, some regions like ours aren't as, hot for Tacomas for whatever reason, and you can probably pick one up. They have these at dealerships in our area. Not the new one, the 23. Then again, I wouldn't touch the 23. The inside is archaic, and the new model is going to be much more comfortable. And that's why this gets my actual seal of approval, because the new model is going to have rear coil springs as long as you do not get one of the base models. Another big complaint people have with Ford models sometimes, and this is true of any brand, but for whatever reason, whatever brand interests us, we seem to think that it only applies at that company. But I've read so many times in the comments like frustration that they're not getting more equipment on the XL, or they're not making more of the XL. Well, here's the thing. Toyota, if you go with that SR, the base model, it's going to be pretty slim pickings. First of all, it's not the only model in which you can have a 6-speed manual transmission, which is a reason why some people are going to choose the Taco. But if we were to actually look at the 23, it'll give us a really good idea. Starting price, $28,250. So your 2024 Taco is going to cost roughly $3,000 more than that price right there. And it's probably going to continue getting roughly 20 and 23 miles per gallon city highway. So if we go start to build this up, It's great. The website, you can always get a full detail of what the model comes with. And the base models at Toyota, the answer is not that much, but now for 24, a whole lot more actually, because you're going to be getting a lot of standard safety features, and actually a few more standard features, safety features, than you do over on the Ford Ranger, which we'll get to the Ford Ranger in just a moment. But their build and price website, I sometimes have.
You selected it and you need to go down next step.
Why, thank you. So let's build this up here. Basically, the point I want to make is on the SR model, you get 3 choices of color: black, white, and gray. So if you want to complain about not having, that's sad. But it's not a reason to be like, oh, I hate Toyota, which I've heard so much about, like the Ford. They'll go into the Ford Maverick. I remember when the cruise control wasn't offered on the XL, it was, Ford is crooked and greedy because there's no cruise control on the XL. Well, they added it. But we need to get less worked up about these things. Companies need to make money to survive. If they don't survive, we're not getting models offered by them. Of course, there is a certain limit to all of that. But the SR model has a 23, pretty awful, 159 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque. And that was sort of the calling card or the hallmark of Toyota for years. They had a lot of power in the 90s, some very interesting models, and then throughout the 2000s, next to no power, and they were boring. But now we're back to having exciting styling and some exciting engine choices with actual power. Well, less so in the engine choice department, but more so in the power department. So the SR5 in 2024 continues to be a less powerful model, but you could at least add on that V6 engine, 278 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque, both the horsepower and the torque being made really high up on the RPM band. So 6,000 RPM to your 278 horsepower and 4,600 RPM, that's revolutions per minute of the motor, 265 pound-feet of torque. But you really have to get up to 4,600 RPM. So pretty boring when you first step on the pedal. So that's what was going on, and next to no choices on the SR5. They absolutely want to force you into more equipment. So let's go back to where we were at. Over here, power-wise, the SR continues to have less power, but still a huge increase in power. 270 pound-feet of torque, 270 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, so similar to the Ford Ranger 2.3. So you get that I-Force 2.4 liter turbocharged engine as standard, and a lot of the issues, new transmission, so hopefully it's not going to be all clunky. It's longer, so longer wheelbase with coil springs in the back if you don't take the base model, and disc brakes. So you're going to have a vehicle that's going to perform better off-road. You're going to have a vehicle that's actually more comfortable, a lot more comfortable because of the longer wheelbase, but because of the new upgraded suspension, independent suspension on all 4 wheels, you're going to have a vehicle that handles a lot better, and the seat is 1 inch higher. So folks, the Tacoma is not a bad machine. Mm-hmm. But which one would we pick? I know you like the hybrid. Let's go check out that Ford Ranger. So on the Ford Ranger here, what I really like is if you go to the XLT, Sport is now, so good looking Sport model is now standard. So that's your FX4. The Sport looks quite similar. But this Sport look is now the standard XLT, even on the 300. But we do have some sacrifices to make. Ford is reducing the number of variations, so many thousands of variations, sometimes even millions of variations could exist on certain models such as the F-150. And guess what? 2023, 2024, and moving forward, we're going to see less available options. So your Ranger now, you're getting it only with a 5-foot bed, and you're getting it as a big 4-door, the big cab. Now, a lot of people are going to be happy. This appeals to the vast majority. Some people are going to be disappointed. They don't have that traditional truck like you can get over on the Tacoma. You can get a manual 2-door out of the Tacoma. So that's, I'd say, if you're looking for a real traditional truck, go with the Tacoma. You can pick it out. It's going to be your pre-runner. You're going to get some style. Pre-runner right here, you're getting a 4-cylinder, which I'm a little iffy on, but you're getting some style. Sorry for the little background play moving around there. So you can get that with your 2-door and 6-foot bed. Now, if you want that manual, go all the way down to the SR. So that's available with the manual. But if you're willing to take that, test out their new 8-speed transmission, go with the TRD pre-runner. It's a good bang for buck, because guess what? At Toyota, the price is going to go up very, very quickly. Just to give you all an idea, if we go back here, we look at the TRD Pro, for example. TRD Pro starts at $47,685 for the that's for the 2023. So add an extra $3,000 to $4,000 for that 2024. And a lot of people have said, I hope the TRD Pro comes fully equipped at that price. And it does not. So just quickly before we jump into that TRD Pro, Trail Special Edition, $41,400, Limited, $41,000, TRD Off-Road, I think that's good value too, $36,440, or the TRD Sport, $35,160. Add $3,000 to $4,000 for the 2024 models. And yes, you definitely can add added options once you get in there. It's all the way in the packages. No packages available for the 2023. You can add accessories. And sorry, when I said add packages, a lot of dealerships are going to want to add things onto these models, and you're going to have to take those add-ons. Now, if it's things like running boards, for example, that's fine. But if you're paying a fortune for an anti-theft system or paint protection in the front, you don't want to walk out of there with $7,000 of, overpriced added on accessories. So just watch out for that, folks. I do want y'all to save thousands of dollars. So now over to the Ranger. The Sport model is now standard on the XLT. I think that's going to be the real bang for buck. I'd put my vote of confidence on that. Now, Marie, looking at the Ranger style, tell us what you think. Who do you prefer here?
That's perfect that both of Toyota and Ford changed the look of their car the same year. It's a lot of competition.
Both were due.
Yeah, but I really love the Ranger now. Before, I wasn't a fan just because of the round look of the front. That was going down, if I could say that like that. And now it's square. It looks more like an F-150. It's a good mix with the biggest of the F-150 and the style of the Maverick. So yeah, now I love it. They just need to have an hybrid in it and it will be all good. So I love the look. And because I'm with you now, I'm only buying Ford, so I really, how can I say that in English? I put my trust in Ford all the time, so yeah, for sure, if I hesitate on these two brands, I will go with Ford, because I drive a lot of Ford before.
We've had some very high mileage Fords before we met. You had an Escape that was getting quite old, long in the tooth and old. It was a 2008 Escape. And mechanically, it was bulletproof. Had a bit of rust issues, mind you. There's a lot of stones and a lot of salt on the roads up here. M. Peugeot reminded everyone to watch out for that nitrogen tire fill for $700 when it's worth, $50, $60. There's about a $30 cost behind that. So you can tell with the new Ranger, you've got the LED Performance C-clamp lights. So very stylish design. Very similar to what you'll see sort of the styling off the lights off the F-150, the Super Duty, the Maverick. So that's now the signature family Ford look. And it's standard on Lariat as well as the Raptor. Now we do have Ranger news in regards to what models are actually going to be available. The Sport, of course, right on when it comes to... That's what you get as soon as you jump up to the XLT. So I think that's very, very good value. So you've got Ford Trail Control. Toyota also has their cruise control, you could say, for off-roading. So it's a very slow speed cruise control. However, the previous Toyota model was a little clunky. I've tried both. The Toyota Tacoma was a little clunky previously, but probably a lot of that had to do with the disc brakes in the back dating from the 1980s. And Ford had, the drum brakes dating from the 1980s. The Ford Ranger had discs, and the Ford trail control on the Ford Ranger does work. It's fantastic. And you can go to very, very low speeds, and it just does a great job. It takes care of the gas, it takes care of the brake. You're in charge of the steering wheel. So we'll have to find out the Tacoma. I think their system will have improved quite a bit since they've ditched the drum brakes and have now gone on to onto actual disc brakes. So Toyota Tacoma, welcome to the 2020s. You're 20 years late for the disc brakes, but that's fine. I remember back in the day, you're looking at a Ford Escort, and even, well, the GT had disc brakes and other models didn't, so everyone wanted a Ford Escort GT. Now, you'll still, of course, have your FX4 off-road package at Ford. That can be thrown off. That's an amazing value, because whether you're looking at the Maverick, the F-150, the Ford Ranger, any Super Duty, any F-150, you can throw on the FX4 package. It varies in price, but it's always under $1,000. It's, well, on the Maverick, it's a little bit more. It's right around $1,000, plays right around $1,000. But on the F-150 and Super Duty, you can throw it on for next to nothing. It gives you the steel plates underneath the vehicle to protect your oil pan. All your sensitive bits get covered up. It's the truck's jock strap. And it's got a little button in the dash so that if you're going downhill, the transmission is going to help keep your speed. Now, why would we ever want that? Well, we want that if you're going down a very steep hill for a very long period of time. You can actually overheat your brakes. With that button, hill descent control, you'll protect your vehicle from overheating those brakes and end up just going straight when you actually want to, slow down or control your speed. So that's a great little package right there. Now, the Ranger, the interior of the Tacoma has upgraded incredibly. So has the Ranger. It's very impressive because even the XL comes with a 10-inch screen. So let's check that out. There's your XLT Sport right there. I actually prefer the Ranger because two main reasons. I like the truck styling. This isn't kung fu fighting. This is more traditional truck with a few modern touches to it. So you've got the lights that help, modern it up, but it's still, the grille looks very much like a traditional truck.
They modern it up. It looks more like the mags on my Maverick right now. I love it. The
side vents here also is a nice little touch point to modernize the look. So you've got a whole lot of little factors making this truck look new and modern, but the overall truck looks very truck. It's not, it's not bordering upon, let's say, Mustang styling, which, our 2022 Mustang GT has a lot of sharp angles in it. It's a little bit more kung fu fighting like the TRD. So the Ranger, I do prefer the styling. I'm definitely more on the, I have nothing against the Tacoma styling. I like it quite a bit. I really appreciate it. It's a very, very close second. And I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I preferred the Tacoma until we found out that the until it was confirmed, because I've said to Marie, must have been 6 or 8 months ago, hey, there are rumors at Ford saying that we're going to get an optional 6-cylinder. So you can get the 2.7 liter twin turbo V6 on the XLT. You can't have it for the XL, but you can have it on the XLT, and that is incredible bang for buck. I don't expect it to be very expensive as an option. It is a fantastic engine option. Why don't you tell them, while I play around here, why don't you tell them how you enjoyed and appreciated your 2.7 liter twin turbo V6 off of the Bronco?
Yeah, it was super powerful. It was impressive. So you go quick at the mileage that you want, and it's not we don't hear it force when you hit the pedal. So yeah, it was smooth and easy. I love it pretty much, and I love the interior of the Ranger there. It's
you don't mind the long vertical screen?
No, because we had it in the Lightning, and now it's
yeah, we weren't sure at first.
It's easy.
But now that we have it and have lived with it, we love it. And there's things about the Lightning that we just don't care about. That up and down automatic tailgate, couldn't care less. I generally prefer to actually, get a little bit of a bicep workout and actually close my own tailgate. It's not as if it's heavy. It's an aluminum tailgate.
When I came from the grocery store and I have the bag on my shoulders, it's easy to push the bottom and when you push the button, it goes up. So yeah, if you have full stuff in your hand and you don't want to come back to just close it after, it's a good feature, I guess.
Now over at Toyota, we've got a new interior. So I want to get to actually showing that off. See that. Compare it to the Ranger's interior, but their website, you can't just click on it and get more. So they're making it a little difficult for me here. Let's give them a second chance here. I don't want updates, but I do want what's called gallery right here. So good looking exterior truck. It's really going to come down to personal taste, whether you're more Ranger styling or Tacoma styling. Now, I find when you go up in grade on the Tacoma, if you spend a lot, you get a lot of wow. I don't find the base model very wow. The pre-runner passes, the TRD Sport very much so passes, but the Pro, they really tempt you into spending a lot of dough on the Pro because, who doesn't like a hood scoop? I'm trying to zoom in, the site won't let me, but who doesn't like a hood scoop? And you get that on the TRD Pro. You also have the Trail Hunter for all those overlanding fans, and I'd say don't, if you think you're going to buy a mid-range Tacoma and then set it up to do overlanding, you're going to spend more. Ask any Jeep owner who's tried to modify their Jeep. They'll spend so much more money modifying their Jeep than just, unless you're reasonable with the modifications. But if you're gonna try to go full out for overlanding, just get the Trail Hunter. You'll get it in your resale. And of course, both vehicles you can have skid plates. But something that's driving me up the wall crazy with the Tacoma is that where are the tow hooks in the front? There should be 4 tow hooks on this, front and back, and there aren't. Now, the rear suspension finally being on coils and not leaf, fantastic. Way to go, Tacoma. This is gonna be very comfortable, and both trucks have a fully boxed in frame. Now the Ford Ranger, it's 7 transversal bars attaching, going through the frame, welded on both sides. I've got experience with that. Our Bronco had that frame and off-roading, very, very solid. And because the Bronco had independent 4-wheel suspension, very comfortable, fantastic on the road. So I'm expecting both these vehicles to be actually very nice improvements over their current models. And they kept the interior very modern, but you've got the traditional styling for a screen. Both have base models with nice touch screens, but it all comes down to whether you want your screen vertical or horizontal. Do you have a preference when it comes to those two?
I don't think. I'm pretty sure both of them, while you're using it, you will be able to, how can we say that in English? I'm searching the word tonight, sorry. You get used to it.
Yeah. It's an adaptation period, especially if you're a current Toyota owner. Maybe your Tacoma is 10 years old and, may not even it probably doesn't even have a touch screen inside. So the Tacoma's got nice little treats. A lot of people are mentioning, of course, the 6-foot bed, the manual, and the power up and down rear tailgate. This is a mid-size truck. These tailgates aren't heavy, folks. I wouldn't buy a vehicle just because it has tailgate, and I'm just really not using it on the Lightning. I would have rather paid less money and not have that option. Now, the TRD has something that is pretty tempting. These off-road seats, the TRD Pro only has these seats that have what is basically shocks. So that you can go off-roading all day. Of course, these seats are 1 inch higher than they used to be, so you're no longer sitting on the floor with your legs almost straight out. Huge improvement.
Talking about the legs, Gary wants to know if you have more driver leg space in the Tacoma 2024 than the 23.
To answer that, I'm going to need the media specifications for both vehicles, because I wouldn't even park the two beside each other and try one versus the other and then call it out. I really do feel that in both cases, it's really important to look at the exact cubic inch or volume of those spaces. So a little trick for you all, if you're looking for really specific details like that, early on, look up, you type in Toyota Tacoma, 2024 Toyota Tacoma media specs, 2024 Ford Ranger media specs. So with media specs, usually you kind of get like a cheat sheet to all the super detailed information, which is it's like a cheat sheet. It feels like an engineer's wet dream. Numbers everywhere. So the sound system on the Ranger, we'll see, but the Toyota Tacoma might very well have, using JBL, might have more points. But remember, the JBL is great, but you're going up to the higher trim models. If you go to Bang & Olufsen at Ford, we love the Bang & Olufsen on our Lightning. I don't see how it could be much better without, making my ears bleed. And you hear, like you said the other day, you hear all the different instruments. Mm-hmm. It's not just this loud bass and you're like, oh, this sounds great because, you're 18 years old and you like bass and you want the little honeys to hear you. No, you hear all the instruments. It's a quality sound.
Yeah, that's so special. It's like surrounding you and you hear every parts of the music. Yeah.
We'll have to try out the JBL to see where it's at. But you could have your little removable speaker, so a nice little treat there.
That's cool.
So that's your Tacoma. Going back to the Ranger, I can give some major advice. Gary is pointing out that front leg space never seems to be a stat. No, you're right, they're not talking about profondeur, depth. They're often talking about overall volume. So you kind of need the volume number and actually try it out. That's why when I first could get my hands on a Maverick, I did a video, 3 men sitting in the back seat being like, hey, everybody, 3 men fit in the back seat tight here, that we're going to close the doors now. We're all touching shoulder to shoulder, but we're 3 men. And one was 6 foot. And the other one was a little over 6 foot, so we all fit in.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's always better to try it.
Always better to try it out. Now the 2024 Ranger, now I got this from, I'm not stealing anything from Ford. This was on Ranger 6G. I can tell you, if you want to get your Ranger and you want an XL and you want to get it quickly, be one of the very first in line, because for the moment, 2024 Ranger XL production should actually be roughly 6% of the overall production. Now, there have been some videos claiming that Ford is only building the upper trim models, and that, this is really crooked, that Ford, they're only building high profit models like the F-150 and not building any Mavericks. That's just not true, and we see how not true it is. The Ranger, yes, it's 6% production slated for the XL model, but roughly 56% for the XLT. And then the remaining percentage, roughly 36%, are going to be Lariat model trucks. So if you're getting an XLT and you're week 1, week 2, week 3, even maybe we'll see how it goes, but the XLTs will be the last to sell out because they're the biggest percentage. The XLs will sell out really, really quickly, because companies are going to be putting in orders for straight XLs. They'll take them white. It's going to be very simple. So keep that in mind. If you want an XL, try to get a pre-order in. If your local dealerships, if any of your local dealerships will take pre-orders in so that they can drop yours in the morning of, or your morning 9 a.m. you've got an appointment and you know what you're going to buy, just be like, this is what I'm taking. Well, of course, remember, get a signed build sheet that says if you get a 2024, it's going to be that price. And get a lease offer or purchase offer that shows the interest rate, shows the monthly payment, shows the total financed amount or the total cash amount. Get them to sign it, and you need to keep your copy, because that's your protection, so that later on you're getting that interest rate and price. So we've got Super Crew all over on the new Ranger. It's a little 1 point less for the Ranger versus the Tacoma. You have less choice, but when you have less choice, there's less cost of production, and Ford can do things such as give Sport, the model we all want, and generally everyone wants a sport-styled truck. Well, that's now standard. So that is very cool. So let's look over here at what we can have. Now, the models that are going to be there are XL, XLT, Lariat, and Raptor. So no wild track, no 6-foot bed, no manual.
And speaking of about the Raptor, GM Genoa wants to know if normally is it only one Ranger Raptor allocated per dealership?
Some dealerships are going to get none, and some dealerships will get 4, 5, 6. So that's a great question to ask the dealer that you're shopping at. Maybe you want to grab the phone or by email contact a few. Now Ridgeview says we've got a great question here.
Oh, that's the one.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah, that is a great question. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer it and trusting me with my responses. Now, an XL, this is incredible. The XL Ranger comes standard with a 10-inch display in the center stack. That is a big touchscreen, and you've got an 8-inch digital instrument cluster. So it's not analog, which would be, mechanical needles. An 8-inch digital instrument cluster means everything is electric, kind of like that 1985 Trans Am that I had. Everything was electric. Corvettes came out that way. It was a fun time with those 80s model vehicles. No power, but they were pretty cool just the same. So other things that are interesting about the XL is you can have now the 2024, you'll have an STX appearance package. That's going to be very cool, very affordable. It will bring it pretty close to the price of an XLT. And remember, XL, they're only going to be building 6% of the total production. That's the plan at the moment. 6% of the total production going towards the XL. So either be first in line or order an XLT. I think the XLT is going to be a great value because over on the XLT here, and I think it's great. I want to mention on the XL, you can even add Copilot and have all your, you can add the STX appearance package, which is going to be very desirable. No matter what, it's a 4-door, big cab, 5-foot box, no choice of engine. You get the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder inline 4 with turbo that we're all very used to. But remember, companies are going to be jumping all over these. So get in line, folks. Get in lines. Even the running boards, they're optional. Now let's see here. Anything else before getting off the XL that we need to cover? You've got shock absorbers. On the XL, they're on the outside of the frame. That does add better comfort and less dancing around. But the rear, you still have, of course, leaf springs. And advanced driver assistance systems. Remember, we're under the standard equipment. In standard, you've got headlamps that are automatic on off. You have high beams, high and low beams at night. That is actually standard. You've got pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking, pedestrian detection, forward collision warning, and dynamic brake support, all standard. Rear camera, of course, standard. Cruise control is standard, and lane keeping aid, meaning it helps when you start to go out in the lines. It's going to shake your steering wheel and give you just a little bit of assistance. So that's fantastic. And post-collision braking. You make a contact, you bounce off, you've passed out, or you're panicking, the vehicle is going to brake for you. So actually, even points between the Tacoma and the Ranger. They both have incredible standard safety equipment. Now, what's cool is on the Ranger XL, you can upgrade that for more. The Copilot 360 package, you can add more safety to that. So it'll be real nice once the build-in price is up. This week, you're going to be able to order these probably around, I think, the 26th. But, stay tuned. We'll post it for everybody. But you do have added technology you can add on the XL. So no one's being forced into having to get the XLT, and I think that's great. Now, this whole Ford accessories, don't throw that on your order. If you throw Ford accessories on your order, it very likely will cause your delays on your order. Just get them from the parts department when your vehicle shows up. That was the case for the Maverick. I called it well in advance. Way back summer 21, some people called me crazy, and I said just avoid it. I had seen that it had been issues for the F-150 and for the Super Duty, so I'm predicting yet again the Ranger. Avoid your accessories to get your Maverick sooner. I know for a long time we weren't getting selected because we had we wanted the spray in bed liner and we wanted that tonneau cover. Now, here's that XL added package you can throw on. Ford Copilot 360. You can have, let's see down here, F is fleet only option. So if you are a fleet, well, you can go full out on the safety. You can have the reverse brake assist, digital rear view camera, reverse park aid. They all have a rear view camera, so don't be fooled, folks. But you can have lane keeping system with extra assistances, which is the alert and driver alert system. You can have the blind spot detection and, of course, the auto high beam headlamps, which is odd because just earlier we saw that under standard equipment. So we'll have to get to the bottom of that story, because when you see standard equipment back there, standard, didn't mean to zoom in that much. Sorry.
Do
Do you see it, folks? Yeah, standard means it's there. And we definitely had most of what was on that right there. Advanced driver assistance systems. So unless that's under an added category, which it is not. So that's great. So don't quite know what's going on there, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be standard. You see, you know, Bronco Sport, a lot of the models now at Ford are coming with just incredible safety features. Now the XLT, that's going to be roughly 56% of production. So if you want to get one sooner, go with an XLT. A lot of people, probably style-wise, we're going to look at an XL STX and barely come in under the price of an XLT. Just jump on the XLT. You get Sport now, standard, advanced driver assistance systems, all included. So you get the Ford Copilot 360. So of course that's auto high beam headlamps, Bliss, which is the little detector lights in the rear side view mirrors that light up when someone's in your blind spot. You can get cross traffic alert. You're backing up, someone's coming, it's going to scream at you. You get lane keeping assistance, lane keeping alert, lane keeping aid, driver alert, all that pre-collision and post-collision safety features. So even braking, if it detects you're definitely going to have an accident, it'll actually apply the brakes for you. Reverse park aid, that's a little beep, beep, beep when you back up. So you're getting a lot. And the 400 watts in the bed.
Rev Nation is asking, with XLT, do you have a luxury package?
That is a fantastic question. We'll get to that in just a moment.
Okay.
As we scroll down. But what is great, here's the proof. You are getting the Sport Appearance Package. So that's going to be 17-inch gray painted aluminum wheels. You get the grille, gray painted center bar and surround. So basically you get the Sport on, little decal on the box. But let's show that. That is right. We saw it earlier. It's pretty much this, but that's FX4, so more black. The Sport, we just saw it go by. The front of the Sport there, you get your gray bar here. You get your gray bar going down and across, light gray at the bottom. So very good looking. So that is definitely your Sport model. You get those amazing mags. So I'd say, folks, skip the XL, jump right to the XLT. That is the one to get. That's the value right there, folks. And you're also getting Sync 4A. So Sync 4 means your cell phone, you don't have to plug it in to have the GPS, your maps from here, your GPS, your navigation, your maps. They can go right to the screen. The screen, the technology in the vehicle is strong enough to be able to take those wireless transfers. So I'd put my money on the XL. Now talking about sort of like a luxury, to answer the question about the luxury group. Now let's check it out. Well, you do have what's called the high package. So carried over from the F-150, your high package, terminology from the F-150. Insider people will be calling it the 300 or the 301. Well, your 301, yes, you can have it. It'll give you 10-way power driver adjustable seat, including power lumbar for the driver, 8-way power passenger seat, adjustable seat, including power lumbar, heated front seats. So the 301 is going to be desirable in our northern regions for all those that want those heated seats. You're going to have power sliding rear window, 12-inch display in the center stack, so that huge vertical screen, and you're going to have dual zone electric climate control. So we don't have to fight over what temperature it is. No couples arguments here. So that is the 301 package will definitely be desirable and sought after. Now, What else can we cover here? You can have the 2.7 liter with 315 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, and that's for me what makes it a winner. For this very small difference, I'm sure, between your Tacoma's hybrid 4-cylinder, which sounds pretty decent, versus the 2.7 liter, which sounds great, and if you change the exhaust, has an unbelievably good sound. Basically, the Raptor tunes into that. The Raptor, with its active exhaust, really shows you what a 6-cylinder at Ford can sound like. Well, guess what? Buy a 2.7 liter, swap your exhaust, save a ton of money, thousands and thousands of dollars, and you're gonna have an amazing sounding Ranger. Just don't send me the bill if you get pulled over by the cops for making too much noise, folks. I'm not responsible for what comes out of my mouth. Please don't blame me when you get pulled over. All I can say is if I can get my hands on another 2.7 liter Bronco this time, I'll be changing that exhaust, because my next Bronco, I want it to be my long-term Bronco. So
Long term for you, is it 1 year only?
very long term is 2 years.
Ooh.
Tim Bartz is in the house from Long MacArthur. Tim Bartz, the legend, thank you very much for showing up. Really appreciate it. Always helping out in the chat, as well as Outsider Reviews, helping out in the chat, and Ridgeview, Marine Vet. And thank you to all our members for making these shows possible. Now, what else is optional? Well, what I like is the XLT. You don't have to go all the way to, a TRD Pro to get all your cool stuff. We've seen it in the past. You could have a tremor package on, essentially it was a tremor package added to an XLT. And here you can see, white and black, optional, even on the 300. So on your standard XLT, you can have, as an option, advanced towing package plus technology. Throwing in the trailer brake controller, so that's a first for the Ranger. You can get the trailer brake controller from factory. You can get the Pro Trailer. It comes with the Pro Trailer backup assist. It comes with the reverse park aid with trailer guidance, adaptive cruise control and stop and go, and speed sign recognition, front parking sensors, 360-degree camera, enhanced active park assist, and connected built-in navigation for 3 years. That's the connected part, the smart aspect to it, the one that talks with the internet. So I love the fact that at Ford, I feel in the Tacoma, you kind of have to get bled into the whole TRD high price scenario to start playing around with a lot more luxury. Whereas here you get the high package, boom, huge screen. Your vehicle looks like our $110,000 Ford Lightning. So it's going to have a lot of style at low price. The XLT is, I know I've studied this, and I've got to say, my money's on the XLT. That is your big bang for buck. It's an incredible value. And I think it's one of the things that helps put my money on the Ranger more so than the Tacoma. And Tacoma is great at, getting you to go up to that Pro. You get that seat with the back suspension. You get the red seats. It looks great, but they're really getting you to pay a whole lot more money.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big difference.
And even for style, you got to pay a lot of money to get the nice style on the Tacoma. Let's go back to the Tacoma and go all the way. That's the 23. So let's try to get back to the 24 out of that little gallery. So based on what we've been talking about so far, are you starting to have a bit of a preference?
That's a good question. I see that we have more cute features in the Ford Ranger, so maybe the Ranger will be the big winner for tonight for me.
Because you're very, very price conscious.
Yeah, because I don't want to pay that much for the Toyota when you can have all these cool features with the Ford at less price. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm sorry, I've lost the pricing, but we'll go back to right here when we're here, and if we can actually just go back, if they let me back out of what we've done.
It's
stuck on the Pro.
The build on the Pro, so you need to go there.
Thank you. It was really stuck there. Okay, so picking out the Tacoma here, you can look, they're really pricing you up
Oh, it's the 2023 again.
Yes, that's okay because we don't have 24 pricing yet. But you've got an incredible start price at $28,250. The 24 is going to be $3,000 to $4,000 more. But then you look at the SR5, and the SR5 is missing a bit of style. And honestly, you need to at least go $8,000 up from the base to a TRD off-road. Now, there isn't an $8,000 difference between a Ford Ranger XL and an XLT. There really is not going to be an $8,000 difference. But even then, probably you're going to be more TRD, well, off-road or sport. They're basically the same price, but let's check it out. Well, I want to check it out, but they're not making it easy for me. I think it's just I'm the problem here. They're not giving us very much photos, but we can definitely see more into the equipment. But that's when you're starting to get like heated exterior mirrors. You're getting more options that make the vehicle a little more comfortable, kind of like an XLT over on the Ford Ranger. So I think you're very price conscious, which would lead you to probably going with an XLT 300. I like a little luxury, so I'd very much be a Ford Ranger XLT 301 with a V6. And if it wasn't for the V6, these two would be dead on, and maybe even the Tacoma would have a bit of an advantage because of, you know, having that 6-foot bed as an option. I think is really cool. Having the manual as an option, I think, is a really cool feature. I love the TRD Pro, but I also love the Raptor, or really just an XLT with a 2.7 liter, because I feel if you have a 2.7 liter XLT Ranger, you're going to be way down on price. You change the exhaust out, you throw on some bigger tires, you give it a 2-inch lift, and you're going to have like a very cool truck, folks. And you're going to be so far away from that TRD Pro pricing of $47,685. You're going to come in thousands of dollars less on the Ranger. If you don't believe me, try it out. Build a 2023 Ford Ranger, swap up. You know, take your XLT 2023 Ford Ranger, look at the price, realize it's going to be about $3,000 more roughly for the new model, and then just figure out what some tires are going to cost, because now the sport model is standard. The mags look great on the Ranger. You get to keep those. I would personally keep those mags right there. I'd throw on bigger tires, give it a lift, swap out the exhaust, take the 2.7 liter
So you want
engine.
a monster truck.
I want a monster truck for cheap. I want to look good, impress the neighbors, and it's really, I don't want life to be boring. And when you've got a boring vehicle, you've got a boring life, folks. You know, I'm thinking probably back to the slap chop guy, but you don't want to have a boring life. When I get outside my house, I like to see good-looking vehicles. Every morning, you think I'm waving bye to you, and you think I'm like, oh, there goes my beautiful wife. I'm just looking at the Maverick go. I'm like, look at that Maverick. It looks so good. It looks so good. Now, I'd prefer, because it's me, you like the fuel economy, you like the price savings, I'd prefer a Ranger with a bit of V6 growl, with a modified exhaust and some big tires.
And we know what happened when you have a car that is more boring. You just switch it too quickly.
If it's boring, I'll take an $8,000 hit on it. Now, the Lightning isn't boring, so I'm not taking an $8,000 hit on it, because I know if I advertise right now, my Lightning's advertised, and the person that picks it up is in a situation because of interest rates, they will save roughly $18,000, a little over $18,000. So they could take over my Lightning. I'm asking for $7,000 in return. $7,000. Now, if I remove that $7,000 and my monthly payment is $400 less, I'm sure that thing's going to go quick. But then I'd lose the original $7,000, well, $8,300 cash, but it was in the reduction box from my trade, so it's actually $7,300. That's from my previous Bronco, because it basically didn't depreciate. I lost $2,500 over 14, 15 months. And I'm like, no, I'm not willing to lose $7,000, because the Lightning is very cool. Very cool. So we'll talk more about, building up the right Ranger. We've got a lot of time for this, but we've just crossed over an hour on the live session. So that now concludes Toyota Tacoma versus Ford Ranger.